Hey, what is up, everybody? It's Twisted Tiff back at you again. How are my pretties doing today? Mwah. Well, anyway, I'm doing fantastic. So, I'm back at it again. Hopefully, round 2, hopefully more to come. I don't know. Depends on how I feel. Do you know how hard it is to get in the mood to want to do videos? It's quite difficult. Very difficult. It's like sitting there meditating, going, you can do this. You can do this. No, I can't. Can't do this. Worth crap. Just kidding. Or else I wouldn't be here. Today I'm going to talk about the Saw franchises, and the reason I'm going to talk about those is because the new movie Spiral just came out not too long ago, and I went and watched that, and that was quite interesting, to say the least. But I thought, why the hell not? Why not talk about the Saw franchises? It's a very popular franchise. Obviously, there's like 8 of them. Yeah, like 8 of them. If you count that horrible 3D one, I'm sorry. Not every single one of them is so peachy keen jelly bean, okay? But that's just what I'm saying on that situation. But it's whatever. So, hold on, I have to cheat. I can never remember off at the top of my head. Notebook, handy dandy notebook. Lets me know what stuff, man. It just, see? Notebook. It's actually kind of cute. Look. It's got like little horror characters on it. It's so cute. My cousin gave it for me. And then I got another journal that kind of like, is like a script situation. If I suck during some days of talking, it's little jots of like what I could say, but it's whatever. Anyway, all right. So, we're back with the whole Saw franchise. Thought I would just chit-chat, talk about those a little bit since there's a lot of them. There is a lot of them. The first one was dated back in 2004. James Wan and them decided, we don't have very much for a budget, so let's just put 2 people in a room and see what we could conjure up. And let me tell you, it was one of the biggest movies to ever hit blockbuster back then, and it's still till this day a very popular movie. And the fact that they were able to do it in such a low budget situation is mind-boggling. But I will say, I still cringe till this day when I hear anything that sounds like bones breaking because of that movie, because it was just so like But anyway, so the first one was dated back, in 2004, and it's about basically this guy who, his name is Jigsaw, if, none of you guys knew, and he feels like there's so many bad people in this world that the only way that they're going to learn a lesson is if they have to either die or save themselves from dying, and it basically rehabilitates them. And in a way, it's kind of brilliant in a sense. He doesn't actually kill these people kill themselves, and he feels like if they don't get out and survive, they don't have the willpower to live. Point blank period. So he comes up with these crazy contraptions and things for these people to try to get out of. And so these 2 people, have done dirty in the world. One is a doctor who, basically he didn't feel like had any sympathy for people who did come into his office that were dying. And so he was like, he feels like as if like this guy didn't care very much about himself, living in general, which I understand, which, you could see sometimes when people are in the business that they kind of lose the passion or the strength and just don't care after a little bit. And the other guy is a dude who likes to take photos of people's lives and basically, following them around when they're not you know, when they think that they're alone, getting really into their privacy situation. And he followed the doctor, actually. And throughout the whole time, they basically have to work together to try to make it out of this hellhole of a room. And one thing leads to another. One of them escapes by sawing off his leg, and the other one is stuck there for the rest of his life to rot because he just didn't have the strength to want to survive, I guess, is the best way to explain it. And then it has the best twist at the end that I personally thought at the time was mind-boggling. I'm not going to go into deep detail on it, just in case, you know, if people are watching this, you know, they want to watch it. I don't want to give the spoiler of the end of the movie on that one, because it by far is probably my favorite ending to a horror movie, because you never ever see it coming. But leads us to Saw 2, which was made back in 2005, which that one, you know, Saw 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way till, I want to say, Saw the final chapter. Saw the final chapter wasn't that good. Personally, I believe Saw the final chapter was basically just trying to fill in much of the gaps as they possibly can to kind of end the situation, and just throw a whole bunch of, you know, kill factors into it, to be honest. You know, they're like, oh, here's another contraption, here you go. Or here's another contraption, here you go. Here, boom, boom, boom. You kind of were just like slapped in the face left and right with just a whole bunch of contraptions. And like, don't get me wrong, you know, a lot of the contraptions and stuff were pretty neat. They were pretty cool, but like, it lost its storyline. It lost its storyline a lot, that's for sure, compared to the first one, and even the second one, onto the third one, and so on and so forth. You know, Saw the final chapter, I think the only thing that was really cool about it was the fact that, you know, they had the lead singer of Linkin Park in there, and he most definitely was in a situation that I would never want to get myself into, and that is being glued to the backseat of a leather, you know, seat, and having to rip your skin away to kind of escape. And that is just not having it for anybody, like not myself, nor anybody else that I know. Like, no, that just sounds like hell on earth, you know. Granted, like, I could take like a tattoo and stuff like that, but you know, having to deal with that's a whole nother ballgame. So Saw 1 through, you know, 7, not even 7, I'll be honest, 7 before the final chapter, at least I think it was Saw 7, or is it Saw 1 through 6? Hold up. Hold the phone here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Freaking 6. Can't believe that. Whatever. Yeah, so Saw 1 through 6 were fine. 6 was okay. I kind of felt like as if it was kind of like dumbing down a little when it comes to the storyline on that one too, but it was still pretty decent, with the insurance agent and stuff like that, and the way that he ended up dying. But I will say this much, watching the CGI on that stuff compared to how CGI is in today's, you know, generation and stuff, oh man, it is awful. Like, watching him get split in half at the very end was kind of almost jokeable. Like, obviously back then it was pretty dang good, it was well done for the time, but watching it now, especially watching like any movie now, you know, the CGIs are like awful back in the day compared to how they are now, because you have like the movies like The Conjuring or Sinister, Paranormal Activity, freaking Insidious. You have all these crazy movies that are so popular anymore, and you see those compared to how you see the movies back in the day. you most definitely, you have a more of a love for CGI now than you do back then. Not saying that the movies back then that were made, you know, aren't any good. They are most definitely good. There's so many back then with CGI that were still very, very freaking good compared to how they are today. But you could see a drastic difference. A drastic difference. But I will say this much. There are a lot of movies back then, like, you know, American Werewolf in Paris. That was well thought out. Like, you know, all of the makeup artists and, like, the effects in that thing to make the werewolf do the way that it did, mind-baffling. Blows my mind away still till this day, because they were pretty much way ahead of their time with that movie. But anyway, going back to the situation. Like I said, you know, 1 through 6 were fine. I did love all the kill factors on them and everything like that. I did love the storyline. I love how all the characters, you know, that Jigsaw or John Kramer ended up picking up in the process, ended up helping them. You know, they still, like, they had to be tested themselves in order to be in this situation. And even the police officer, you know, he thought that he was never going to be tested, and then John died and he thought he was still not going to be tested, and then all of a sudden he ends up getting tested, and it was basically for John's wife at the end of episode or movie 6, I believe. Yeah, it was the second to the final chapter is when she tries to put him in the jaws of life, is what I like to call that thing. But he ends up surviving it. Granted, it is gnarly how he survives it, but he survives it. You know, he did get tested after all as well. But all of the movies that kind of led up to the movie now, if you watch Spiral now, it kind of doesn't really have anything to do with any of the other ones, and it's because it's based off of the Saw books and not actually an extension off of the actual movies that just got done. That's for sure. So if you are going in to go watch Spiral and you're like, I don't know a dang thing really about any of the other movies, that's fine, actually. After watching it, I learned, you know, you don't really need to know anything about the previous movies, because this is just an extension off. Well, they even said it before the movie even came out, but I know a lot of people don't really want to read between the lines of things. So here I am to tell you that you don't really need to know an extension off of all the other movies to get what Spiral's about. Now, if you know John Kramer and you know Jigsaw and everything like that, that's pretty much all you need to know about this movie. Because even, you know, John Kramer isn't really said very much in this movie in general. Now, my input on what how I feel about the Spiral movie, which I'll do, you know, another video if you guys give this, you know, a few thumbs up. Maybe I'll do an extension movie on how I actually feel about the Spiral movie. And a part of it kind of frustrated me, I will say the least. You know, I was so excited to go into this movie, just to go in there, and I was kind of disappointed. And then in the way, I do understand at the same time. I do get what they were laying down when it came to this movie, especially how society is today. So I totally understand where they were going for with this. There were just some little things in there that I was just kind of not happy about. You know, when you're going into watching this movie, you're thinking, regardless of the situation, you're thinking of the previous movies or even the book. And so when you go in there and you see all the stuff that is happening in this movie, it kind of slightly disappoints you. But I will say this much, is still most definitely a movie that I would go and check out myself. You know, if you have nothing else better to do, or you just want, or if you're just like me, who loves horror movies, that kind of just want to keep up with everything that is going on, I highly recommend going and watching it. I'm not saying it's a bad movie in any way, necessary, but like I said, if you guys give a thumbs up, I'll kind of explain in another movie what I think they should have done differently, what I loved about the movie, and what I'm hoping that they're going to go with any future movies from here on out with that. But other than that, I would love down in the comments, for you guys to leave, what is your favorite Saw movie? What is your favorite death scene in the Saw movies? What do you are entailing and hoping that maybe is gonna end up happening for futures to come with the new, franchises of the Saw books? But yeah, just leave it in the comments down below. I would love to, hear anything that you guys say, what your guys' inputs on it. I want to know a little bit about you guys and everything like that. That's most definitely a big thing, but until next time, my friends and my pretties, I will see you later.